I'm Ashton Addison from BlockWest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have Theo Gauthier, founder and CEO of Toposware. Theo, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Ashton. Nice to meet you, and excited to be here.
Likewise, excited to dive into the world of zero knowledge and the ZK ecosystem that you and the team at Toposware are building out. I feel like this is something that I've been following for quite a while, and it hasn't really kicked off yet, and maybe it hasn't been necessary, but I feel like it's an integral part of the blockchain ecosystem. It's providing privacy and security to an infrastructure that desperately needs it on its way to mainstream adoption. So excited to dive into what you and your team have been working on. Let's just start from the high level, if we can, on how would you explain what Toposware is, and then we'll dive into all the details.
Yeah, absolutely. So Topos is the first ZK ecosystem, like we call it. It's a platform built for interoperability and privacy, where builders, developers can deploy their own blockchains that we call subnets. And by doing so, they enjoy reduced risks associated with security, high fees, compute limitations. They are empowered by having better control over their environment, their execution environment, while being able to natively and securely interoperate and compose value across the whole Topos ecosystem to improve productivity for themselves, for the users, as well as to improve value and revenue capture. And the protocol, as you mentioned, really revolves around one main ingredient, which is zero knowledge proofs. Yes.
Okay, great intro. And can you talk about, is this a necessity moving forward? I think a lot of people have understood that there's some privacy invasion in Bitcoin and Ethereum, where if you send a transaction, people can just look at your address and they can look at your entire bank balance in there. And of course, there's other little privacy things as well. What are sort of the main problems that are being solved by adding Toposware into these blockchains?
So right now, in the current ecosystem, when it comes to interoperability, what you have to do if you want to send assets, for example, or even call distant smart contract, what you have to do is to rely on bridges. And the problem with bridges is that they have inherent vulnerabilities. Because in the best case, if you take, for example, trustless bridges, those bridges in the end always rely on the security of the underlying blockchains. So if you have, for example, a very strong chain like Ethereum that wants to interoperate with a much weaker chain, like a much newer chain, for example, then the security of your bridge reduces to the security of the weakest chain, which is not great. So the idea is, how can we leverage zero knowledge proofs to ensure that validity of transactions that are sent across the network is assured cryptographically, instead of saying, oh, I want to put my trust assumptions on the validators of the two chains, or by extension on the crypto economics or the crypto economic incentivizations of those validators. So can we replace that by cryptographic proofs? And that's what we do at Toposware, to provide greater guarantees when it comes to interoperability, because we believe in three main hypotheses. The first one being that the future will completely be multi-chain. So there won't be a single winning blockchain, but rather we will have a proliferation of application-specific blockchains. And more we see that actually today, and we think that it will increase in the future with even enterprise. Once enterprise will make the big jump into blockchains, they most likely will want to have their own execution environment and not really just be plugged onto Ethereum, for example. And so given that the future will be multi-chain, we don't want value to be siloed within each of those blockchains, but rather we want value to be able to be composed. Because the nice thing with value is that when you compose value, the new value that is created is greater than the sum of the two initial values. So you get something that is super linear, that is very great for value creation. So we want to enable that. And so we think that the future is multi-chain and natively interoperable. We don't want those values to be siloed within each blockchain. So that's the first point we believe in. The second point is that when you reach that point of having an ecosystem with multiple chains in it, you don't want that if there is a failure on the chain in this ecosystem, you don't want that failure to be contagious. You want it to be localized, and you really don't want that this creates systemic contagion in the ecosystem. Because if, for example, you have to deal with financial instruments like asset transfer, for example, that's a big problem. If you have a problem on the source chain, and that creates very big problems. So we want that when you have this ecosystem, that the system is secure, even in the case where you have failure of a single chain in the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And the third hypothesis we believe in is that zero knowledge proofs are really the end-game technology for privacy, scalability, and interoperability.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard a lot about zero knowledge proofs, and I've only myself just started testing it out. Moving, once you have all these different layer twos, and especially moving to different blockchains, being able to shield those transactions to ensure privacy, especially if you're a large business or a corporation that's, competing in a sense with other corporations in the same industry. You don't want to have your books open to all of the competitors. I feel like there's many use cases, but that feels like just one of them. How long has your team been working on this now, and where are you guys sort of at with it?
So we've been founded in 2019 initially. So we've been doing heavy research and development since. We actually published, I think, 6 or 7 academic papers so far in collaboration with multiple research institutes. So we've been pretty deep into doing research in the field, both ZKPs and distributed systems, because we also bring forth some kind of new primitive of distributed systems that is maybe not so used in the blockchain. We hear consensus a lot, and we actually use an alternative solution. And so we've been pretty deep since the beginning doing research in ZKP and distributed systems as well.
Very interesting. And when this technology is released, are you anticipating it being used by institutional investors or corporations or retail traders, or just all of the above, or is there a specific focus on who will best benefit from this?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was mentioning, Topos has really been built for interoperability while preserving privacy. Mm-hmm. And for example, for enterprise, we know that the main barriers that really prevent enterprise from actually making the jump in the technology are really the lack of privacy and interoperability, which we both tackle. So we can have enterprise that now deploys their own subnet, their own execution environment, their own execution layer, and still being able to natively interoperate with the broader ecosystem, public chains and permissioned networks, while preserving their privacy. So they do not have to reveal any data with respect to the network with Topos. And we think that can be a game changer for enterprise, because a lot of value is being created today with Web3. But if we look at things pragmatically, most of the value today resides still with enterprise, because enterprise has tremendous value that it creates. And if we really want global adoption of Web3, we need to onboard enterprise, and we need to solve some of enterprise biggest problems with the technology. And I think we are well positioned to initiate that switch for enterprise.
Incredible. And is the team, has the team spoken to a lot of different enterprise companies to, pinpoint where those problems are, or are you already looking at, getting them onboarded or getting them as a part of the ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually already executed a POC last year with a publicly traded accounting firm. We will execute 3 more this year. And we've been actively talking with the gaming industry, the music industry, even financial services, the pharmaceutical industry as well, because they're all interested in the technology, but they always there is always those big walls, which are privacy and interoperability. And with Topos, we also act as a direct replacement of consortium. So now enterprise don't need to all gather together onto a shared ledger, but rather they can all deploy their own layers, their own networks, and still interoperate with each other as they would with consortium, but with greater guarantees and without sharing anything. So not everyone has to share the same computation and data as they would with consortium.
Amazing. That's great to hear. I'm looking forward to the next stages. And I was looking through the platform, and I saw that you're also expanding the team and the advisory board, and sort of aligning those interests of the enterprises as well. Can you talk about just expanding into getting more executives, professionals on board with Topos?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working hard on getting an advisory board composed of industry leaders and academic leaders to make sure that we could, when time comes, have access to the right verticals. So we currently have executive and leaders from large companies such as IBM or Electronic Arts or even Meta, Facebook, that have joined the advisory board. So it's great here. We have great access to all those verticals. And yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a great list. And now, I know your team's been working on this for quite a while now. What are the main focuses in this first half of 2023, and what needs to be done to get to the next stage?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we are currently onboarding third-party partners, Web3 partners, foundational partners, because we can't do it alone. We need partners to be able to help us in building the community. So onboarding partners. We also right now creating the community, because so far we've been very, very focused on building the product, and we're actually somehow quite happy with what happened in 2022 in some sense, because we were not riding the hype in a sense. We really a team of scientists, so none of us really was hyping anything or is here for the hype, but purely for the technology and the product that we can deliver. And that's good because we were always focused on building. And so yes, we have to start marketing to be able to build the community, and that's what we focus on right now in the next 6 months, because at the end of Q2 or beginning of Q3 this year, we will be launching our testnet, incentivized testnet. So we are building up the premise of this phase of the journey right now.
Very cool. And I know that there's, with the renewed interest since the beginning of 2023 here, there's been a lot more marketing efforts from a lot of projects, which I think is great. And there's a lot of conferences that are happening as well. How deeply are you guys getting involved in the crypto communities, in person? And are you attending the conferences? And do you think that's worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. So here we're based in Boston. And so right in the middle of MIT and Harvard. So it's great to be part of the tech world, and we're also part of the BBA, the Boston Blockchain Association, where we hold regular events and meetups. And later, I think it's next week or next week, we will be also at East Denver, the big event, and also later this year at Consensus. So if anyone wants to come and talk to us, anyone is free to engage with us.
And with this, just looking over the crypto communities in the last few months here, since the beginning of 2023, I've noticed that, although zero knowledge has been around for quite a while, it seems like people are starting to pay attention and that it's more needed. And I'm curious if, in part of that is, the regulation and oversight, or if there's other reasons why now is a great time for the zero knowledge technology to be introduced into Web3 for people to actually use it. What do you think about the timing of this narrative, and why is it necessary right now?
Yes, so as I was mentioning, we really believe that zero knowledge will be a game changer in terms of technology, as much as blockchain was a game changer. So we really put them as equivalent impact. in a sense. The problem currently with ZKP, a little bit similar to the initial problems of blockchain, is somehow efficiency and cost. It's quite costly to compute those proofs. So it's not there yet, but tremendous effort is being put into things like hardware acceleration or even research to create more efficient protocols. So as those protocols become more efficient, they will gain adoption. And we also see, for example, I believe it was last week, the EU, the European Union, announcing that they have launched some kind of commission to study zero-knowledge proofs for compliance, privacy, as they head towards their own CBDCs. So clearly, I think there is a great future for zero-knowledge proofs that's coming.
Wow, great insights. And moving forward towards Q2, towards this incentivized testnet, is there any way for people to get involved or to follow along with these updates, and what's the best way to learn more about Topos?
Yes, so we have, of course, our website that is available with the documentation. We also have Twitter, so feel free to follow us. We also have, of course, a LinkedIn. We are setting up the Discord right now. And yes, so anyone will be able to participate in the testnet. And this is an incentivized testnet, so we will be testing specific features of the protocol. So yeah, anyone is free to join yeah.
Very exciting. Well, thank you so much, Theo, for all the insights into zero knowledge and what Toposware is working on. I will leave the platform and the social links you mentioned in the description box below for the viewers as well. Appreciate all the insights into this, and I'm looking forward to that incentivized testnet, and hopefully we can catch up before then as well. So let's definitely follow up in the near future, closer to then.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Ashton.